In previous videos, I've talked about voice assistants like Alexa on Sonos, smart doorbells like Ring, and energy monitors like Sense. I've also been experimenting with ways to integrate my Tesla into my smart home setup. But if you've been intrigued by smart home tech, but get this feeling, I think it's time to take a step back and talk about smart homes in general, how these different gadgets even talk to each other, and what some of my favorite smart home gadgets even are. Hey Alexa, start the video. My home is probably on the verge of becoming self-aware and destroying all life as we know it, but for right now, my family is still enjoying our smart home. I started my slippery slope into my smart home tech with a Philips Hue light bulb starter kit probably about 6 years ago, which I was able to link to my TV's Logitech Harmony remote control. And when we turned the TV on, the lights would come on to a preset level, but only if it was after sunset. It was a little silly, but it made me realize the potential of what a smart home can do if you had the right hardware that could talk to each other. One common reaction I've gotten from people when they see this stuff in action is, why? I can also hear some people already typing frantically in comments saying, I have working fingers that can turn a light switch on and off just fine, thank you very much. And so do I. And yes, a big part of smart home tech is about convenience, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Smart homes can actually save you money on your electric bill by turning off things when nobody's around to use them. And they can make your home safer and more secure by lights automatically coming on when you arrive home in the dark. When a smart doorbell or security camera detects motion, it starts recording, turns on certain lights, and sends you a notification when nobody's home. This kind of technology has been around for a long time, but it's only been over the past 5 to 8 years that it's gotten dramatically cheaper and easier to set up. And based on my personal experiences over the past 5 to 6 years, I've formulated a set of rules to live by when it comes to smart homes. No matter what you do, smart home tech should be additive to your user experience. It should never make something more difficult or cumbersome to do than the non-smart home method. Your family will revolt if you tell them that they have to stop using the wall switch and instead to use their smartphone to turn something on or off. A good smart home adds functionality on top of what you already do every single day. You can buy replacement smart light switches that will always function like a typical switch, but they add new functionality on top of that. My favorite brand is the Lutron Caseta. It does have the downside of having a little central hub that you need to buy, but it's small and can tuck away anywhere in your house. If you've never installed a light switch before, you'll probably be sweating bullets the first time you do it. Your eyes on the far end of the runway. But it only takes about 5 minutes or so to change one out. And the nice thing about Lutron Caseta switches is that they're compatible with pretty much all home types. Some switches require a neutral wire to maintain power even when they're turned off. My house was built in the 1950s and most of the inside switches don't have neutral wires, which really limited my options. And that's when Lutron came to the rescue. They even have little remote switches that can be placed into the wall switch location on the wall without wires, or attached to a little tabletop stand so they can move around freely. Essentially, you can turn a single light switch into a 2-way or 3-way setup with these little remotes. Or link that remote to a Lutron smart outlet, which turns a standard lamp into a wall or tabletop controlled switch. It's very, very handy. Philips Hue also makes some light switches that can be mounted to the wall with double-sided tape, and they look just like a regular switch. Another great option to keep it simple. The first thing to understand is that you don't have to stick with just one brand. Just because you have a Nest security camera does not mean you have to use all of the Nest products. You can mix and match these devices, but you need to make sure that they all support a common central service. The 3 biggest ones are Amazon Alexa, Apple HomeKit, and Google Home. There are other platforms like Smartthings and Wink, but in most cases, those also can be tied back into one or more of the big 3. My strong recommendation is to not put yourself into a walled garden. Buy products that support multiple of the big central platforms to give yourself more options. Look for devices that showcase integrations into not just your first choice, perhaps it's Amazon Alexa, but also mention others as well. A great example is Philips Hue, which works with pretty much every service that's out there. Lutron Caseta light switches and smart outlets are also another great example. Both of those tie directly into Amazon, Apple, Google, and SmartThings. And the cherry on top is if the device supports IFTTT, which is if this then that, which is a service that acts as a translator and traffic cop between non-compatible devices. One example of that would be a robot vacuum cleaner like the iRobot Roomba 980, which doesn't link directly into the big services, but it does support IFTTT. When my smart home detects that nobody is home, using SmartThings it can let IFTTT know, which bridges the gap between iRobot and kicks off a cleaning cycle. There are more options than IFTTT like Stringify, but IFTTT has the largest collection of supported devices. In some cases you can have these different translating services talk to each other as well. In my case I actually have IFTTT and Stringify working together to create more elaborate use cases. In that Roomba example I'm doing just that. I'm doing some crazy things with having Stringify track if a cleaning cycle was run on a given day, and if it wasn't, and there's nobody home, then it tells IFTTT to run the vacuum cleaner. I admit, I have a tech addiction problem. Sometimes I've bought products because of some shiny fancy feature that it does without thinking through if it's a feature I will actually use. Don't make that mistake. Think of a problem you're trying to solve and then figure out what smart home gadgets you'll need to make a solution that will work. One example might be energy efficiency. I have an Ecobee 3 thermostat, which includes several sensors that can be placed in rooms around your house. Each one has a thermometer and a motion sensor built into it. On its own, Ecobee can tell which rooms are occupied, and it will adjust the house-wide average temperature to make sure the rooms with people in them are hitting your set temperature. Well, right now I have SmartThings that runs a good chunk of my smart home setup, which integrates directly with my Ecobee and can tap into those same motion sensors. If a room isn't occupied for a certain amount of time, I could also turn off that room's lights automatically. SmartThings knows if my wife and I are both away from our house because we use our cell phones as device trackers. If we both leave the house, SmartThings tells Ecobee that we're gone and it sets the temperature and fan accordingly. In the end, we've saved hundreds of dollars with changes like this. Going back to the why reaction you'll sometimes get with this kind of stuff, who cares? Have some fun. When our washing machine or dryer finishes a load, one of our Philips Hue light bulbs in the living room flashes. Do we need that? Nope. But we had all of the tech in place for other reasons, and we're able to add that convenience feature on without much effort. So why not? And not that I've done this, but you could switch your Amazon Alexa keyword to computer and create a routine that flashes all your Philips Hue light bulbs red when you say, computer red alert. Not that I've done that. Seriously. This wasn't meant to be a comprehensive how-to, but more of a primer of smart home tech and the types of things that you can do with it. And hopefully, if you follow these general rules, you'll avoid spending money on tech that won't work together, or worse, tech you have to replace because it doesn't support the right services. It's a little bit of the Wild West when it comes to smart home tech right now, but you don't have to let that hold you back. If you stick with the brands you know and that support the major services, 9 times out of 10, you should be able to get things set up and working reliably. I'm still using the very first GE smart switches I installed over 6 years ago for my outside lights. Start small with something like Philips Hue bulbs and grow from there. As you get comfortable with the first purchase, you'll start to see use cases for something else that branches off of that first thing. Just keep building on that as you go and needs arise. I have a video planned around my experiences with a few models of Logitech Harmony remotes, how they've been integrated into my smart home setup, and with Amazon Alexa. Comment down below what experiences you've had with smart home gadgets, or if there's something you'd like me to dig deeper into. And a quick update on integrating my Tesla into my smart home setup. It's not going well. I figured out some great ways to get Alexa, Google Assistant, and Siri working with it, but my hopes of being able to trigger automations based on where and what my car is doing are fading quickly. Some of my deeper integrations I found ping the car constantly and run the battery down. And right now my best hope is Siri shortcuts on iOS, which is not something I was expecting when I started looking into this. And speaking of Tesla, if you'd like to support the channel and are looking to buy one, you can get 6 months of free supercharging by using my referral code, which I'll link down below. The same code also works if you're looking at Tesla Solar, which will give you an extended warranty. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get alerts when I post new videos. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.